Okay, now we're in the interview portion of the show. We're joined by Tim Grover. Tim, businessman, motivational speaker, author, personal trainer. What do you like to go by here? You're a man of many hats.
Hey, whichever hat I'm going to wear that particular day, so it's all good. It's all good. You got to be able to adjust and be flexible. No, I'm still doing. Obviously, I'm still doing the training more of on a consulting side, and doing quite a bit of speaking. Right now, it's all virtual. A lot of it is virtual, but things are starting to open up, and obviously got the new book that's coming out on May 18th called Winning. So if I had to wear a hat right now, it would be the author hat.
There we go. Author. Yeah. Just look out for that book. We'll definitely talk about it more throughout the interview. But it's funny. We're just talking. We just find out that you're literally probably blocks from our studio right now.
Yeah, I must like literally. When I take my dog, I must walk by your studio literally 2, 3, 4 times a day. It's unbelievable. Like when you guys, like the only people I know that are like that, or they say they're from Ukrainian Village. I'm like, no, you're not. Because people don't like to be. People like to. Oh, I'm from the West Loop. I'm on the West. In the West area. They don't like to actually admit that. Hey, I'm in Ukrainian Village.
Oh no, we know what we are here. That's for sure. And
ain't that the truth? So do I.
where are you from originally? Like this, so we're the Chicago arm of the Chicago branch of Barstool. So it's always great to talk to another local guy. So where are you from? Like,
listen, I grew up like the Edgewater. Well, at first I grew up like Streeterville. Then we moved to Edgewater. I'm a graduate of Chicago Public Schools. I went to Ogden. I went to Lane Tech. I played basketball at UIC. So Chicago's been home. I've been blessed to live in other cities also. Obviously I lived in LA. I lived in Houston. I've lived in Sarasota. Many other places, but Chicago's always been home.
Yeah, shout out Lane Tech. Some people would say that there's the most and best fast food places per square like foot or whatever up around that part. Lane Tech,
strong.
shout out. I got it. With all these hats you wear, can you look back and see yourself doing any other thing, or is this just like this is who you are in your blood and your DNA?
Listen, I'm surprised I'm doing all this. I never planned to do all this stuff here. I was actually, I've always been an introvert. I'm not much of speaking or talking and even writing. So I ended up, the training part is something I always knew I wanted to do. That was something I always wanted to do. I knew I wasn't good enough to play at a professional level, but I always wanted to be involved with athletes. I didn't want to do the coaching route or that kind of stuff. So I was like, all right, I want to train professional athletes. Then from there, with all the information that I gathered, I was like, all right, I found my co-author, Sherry, and I was like, listen, let's write a book. And this is not going to be a workout book. And, 8 years ago, we wrote a book called Relentless. That did extremely well. And then now we're following it up with this one. So all these things, I'm blessed to be able to do all these things. But the only thing I actually had in mind of doing originally was to train professional athletes. And that wasn't until I got to college. Before that, I was a kid, fairly successful in school, but still didn't know what I was going to do.
Well, how did it start, Tim? Because we got a large listener base that's in high school. I would say, whether it be St. Pat's guys, Brother Rice guys, Lane Tech kids, who always see a guy like Tim Grover, like, wow, that guy, he trained Michael Jordan, he trained all these great players. How did you get into the game, and what was the start? What really propelled you kind of to getting into this?
It's crazy. So you go to college, like I didn't know what I wanted to do, like anybody else. And there was a new program being offered at UIC. It was kinesiology. Well, I can't even spell it, let alone say it. So I said, this sounds interesting. My guidance counselor during that time said, this might be something you're interested in. And it was, different movements of athletes and angles and all this different play. I said, okay, I can do this. I really, really, really took to it. It was something I really enjoyed. I really liked it. Our basketball team actually, when I was taking these classes and educating myself, our basketball team actually had an outside trainer that would come in and do stuff. And he was doing things, and I was just like, this isn't right. I was just like, I wouldn't tell him that. I was just like, who's going to be this kid that's going to tell this guy that supposedly knows what he's doing and teaching us? And I was like, no, this is not what the book says. This is not what the angles say. This is not what's going on. So I was like, you know what? If he can do this, I can do this. And I ended up hurting myself in college. I ended up tearing my ACL. So that really kind of brought me to a different level of it. I graduated college, had a bunch of knowledge, but didn't have any experience. So I took a job at a local health club. You know, back then in the late 80s, my minimum wage was $3.35. That was the minimum wage. And I left that, and I got that job with a master's degree. So I started to just work out, quote unquote, normal people that wanted to lose weight, get in better shape, become better athletes, better tennis players. You know, back then squash and racquetball was really big. So, and I just started to get real excellent results with these players, which was really, with these individuals, which was really good for me because, like I said, I knew what to think, but I didn't know how to think. I didn't know how to think for myself. And working with those individuals allowed me to take the next step, which was to get in contact with professional athletes. And Michael Jordan actually was my first professional athlete that I trained.
And how's the story go, Tim? So you reached out to every player besides Mike, or how's the story go?
Exactly. I reached out to every single player. So what I did was, for people now, you know, they can't imagine that you could just Instagram somebody, or that before that you actually had to write letters. There was no email. You had to go to the post office, buy a stamp. So everybody knew where the Bulls practice facility was, and you send fan mail and you hope it gets to the individual. So I was like, all right, I'm going to send out 14 letters. There was an article in a local paper that said Michael Jordan's tired of taking a physical abuse from the Detroit Pistons and he wants to get stronger. So I got a little idea. I said, you know what? I'll reach out to everyone on the team. I said, wow, Michael, I said, if they put this out in the paper, they'll find somebody for him, or they already have somebody on staff. So 14 letters went out, and somehow Michael saw an open letter in one of the lockers and pulled out the letter and told the athletic trainer and the team physician at that time, say, hey, find out what this guy's about. And I got a call from them, and they put me through a 3-month vigorous testing, knowledge, practical process to make sure I knew what I was doing. They still didn't tell me who the client was. You know, I'm thinking it's going to be somebody on the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th player on the roster that they want to improve. 3 months go by, they give me an address. They say, hey, show up at the house. Still don't know who it is. So back then, this was before Michael had the big house with the gate and a 23 on it, all this other stuff. So you could just walk up there and ring the doorbell. So I went up, I rang the doorbell. Michael Jordan opens up the door. Might be the only time he's ever opened up. Since then, he's probably never opened up the front door of a place again. And the crazy part about that was I didn't know who it was. I was wearing Converse gym shoes. So I was like, okay. So I'm
Swap
like,
those out.
Nike guys. So I'm like, all right, do I take them off or do I go in the house? So I took them off. Oh, 2 big holes in my socks. So what I do is I turn my socks around, and of course the bottom part are the dirtiest parts of your socks. So it was like either go in with holy socks and dirt, or go in with the Converse. I said, hey, let me leave the Converse shoes out. So I went in, we talked for about 45 minutes. I explained him what my philosophies were and how I worked and what I did things. And he asked me, have you ever worked with a professional athlete? I said, no, I haven't. And I said, if that's a problem, I said, let me know. He goes, no. He goes, let's try this out. He goes, but what you're telling me, he goes, it just doesn't sound right. You know, from all the things that that he could benefit from, the different things that I had planned for him. And he said, this doesn't sound right. And I said, well, it don't get any righter. He goes, well, let's try it out. Let's do 30 days. Let's try it out for a month. And 30 days turned into 15 years. When I walked out of the door in that meeting, he looked down at my feet and looked at my shoes and said, never again. Gotcha.
Never again. Do you remember the first pair he gave you, or what was it the ones? Or
on the drive home, I went and stopped at a store and bought me a pair of Nikes.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get that relationship off to the right start. Goes on for 15 years. I got to imagine, you have some insight into like realistically, day to day. I know he's the best. He's the most explosive and all that shit. But like, really, what does put MJ in that exceptional category better than anybody else?
Well, it's funny. I've seen athletes, and other people have seen athletes. Yeah, he was exceptional. But we've seen individuals who have been stronger, who actually were more athletic. But he had the combination of the physical tools and the mental strength to be like, hey, I want to chase these wins. I want to chase greatness. I don't want to be average. The language of the way he spoke about winning was completely different than what everybody else. Everybody says they want to be the best, or I'll do anything to be the best. Well, when you find out what actually anything means, then they're like, I'm not willing to do that. I'm willing to do this. I want to do this. He was all in from that next day when we started working out, understanding how his body worked, being able to be coachable, even from an individual that had never worked with a professional athlete before. You get a person, and he wanted to come in, and he had the idea. He goes, listen, I need to bulk up. I want to be stronger. I want to be more athletic. Well, I said my philosophy with him was, I was like, listen, you have some imbalances in the body. You have, there's constantly groin strains. There's a hamstring issue that goes on. There's some weakness in the ankles. I said, let's address those things. I said, if we address those things alone, I said, you will automatically be stronger, faster, and better. So for him to give me the fortitude to say, hey, listen, let's go this route first before we go this way.
Now, does he push back, or what does that conversation look like? I mean, is he like telling you like, I don't know about this, or is it just full trust?
No, that's the thing. He did not push back. His thing was, he goes, I trust you. He goes, I hired you to do a job. I have to trust you. But the thing that really gained my trust with him is I would tell him how he's going to feel in 24 hours, how he's going to feel in 48 hours, how he's going to feel in 72 hours. Like, if we do these different things, these are the different areas that you should feel significant. You may feel significant gains in. Your endurance may be a little down. So each practice and during the day, he was able to make those adjustments. So I was kind of like, hey, after we do this exercise, after we do this workout today, this is how you're going to feel the next couple of days. So that kind of just built the trust over and over and over again.
What was like the biggest thing that you changed from MJ right away? Like, was he getting up at 4 a.m. and you come in and you're like, hey, dude, actually you need to be getting up at 11? Or was it like, yo, you got to stop eating eggs? Was there like anything right off the bat that you stripped from him?
Well, you know what? It's funny. When you come in, you get these individuals, they try to change everything. You can't change everything. So the thing with him was, I said, and this was one of the things that we probably had the biggest, I won't say pushback, but conversations. And he was like, I want to put on all this muscle mass. And I was like, no. I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put on 5 pounds every single year. And he kept asking me, he goes, what weight do I need to be at? I said, I can't tell you that. That's up to you. I said, you're going to have to find out what weight you play is best for you, and we'll go from there. So every time we would every season we would put on 5 pounds. He started with me at 198, and his playing weight was anywhere between 213 and 218. I always left a 5 pound leeway. Obviously back then in his early stages in his career, he was a big fast food eater. So I had to actually incorporate the fast foods into his diet because he wasn't going to eliminate them. He said, listen, this is part of it. So I would be like, okay, instead of eating this, eat this. Instead of eating this at this time, eat this at this time. And it was kind of like, yeah, you know what? You're the first guy that's ever came in and says, hey, I can still do the things I enjoy and still get the results that I want. And people come in and they want to make these clear changes from one end to the other, and it doesn't work like that. They like to enjoy their lives. They like to enjoy their fun. They like to enjoy what winning allows them to do. And you have to fit a plan that works in their lifestyles and how they enjoy and perform.
Obviously, The Last Dance was unbelievable, and there was at one point when he returned, they made that big deal about how he bulked up and how his traps looked and how his shoulders looked. What was that like for you watching that, those training montages? Was that like the most, like a very rewarding moment, or your perspective, was that the right story? How was that for you?
Yes, it's, you know what, to be able to see him, to see the not the physical and mental changes in his game and his body. You know, one of the pushbacks that we would get all the time, and I talk about this in the book Winning, is like we would put emphasis. One of the standard exercises we would always do is bicep curls. All right, and everybody was like, well, bicep curls have no play in basketball. You know, there's not, from a functional standpoint, they don't do anything. I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. But from an intimidation standpoint, when you take off that warm up and you're wearing a jersey and the other teammates see, that's the first thing they look at. You know, they're not going to look at, yeah, all right, with MJ, they might have looked at the shoes that he was wearing that particular game. That might have been the first thing that brought the attention. But normally eventually you got to work your way up. So they would see, and that's the first thing everybody would, come, man, he's so much bigger. He's so much stronger. And the key with that is, when you're bigger and stronger, was not to lose your athletic ability, because you can get bigger and stronger and actually not be as athletic.
That's diabolical. I think you might be like the first strength coach I've ever even encountered or heard of saying, yeah, do the bicep curls. That's next level thinking on that stuff.
Well, that's what like, here it is. It's not, if I just follow the books all the time, and again, what I said about earlier, that's what to think, but the ability of how to think, of like, there's not a single science book out there that says, hey, biceps are advantageous to this sport, or this sport. It's just, most sports, they're just not. But from an intimidation standpoint, now, obviously, listen, we're not going to give him, 20-inch arms where he can't, he can't bend his elbow back and get the ball in the right position. There's a certain limit to it, but it's something that the other individuals, it made them think. And that was the whole idea, just to put that little bit of doubt in the competitor's mind. Wow, not only is he so talented, but look how physically strong he is now.
And Tim, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, and I'm sure you've told the stories a million times, but just for our listeners, we got to know, like, what's the big differences between Mike and Kobe? Like, what was it?
The biggest difference between the two is Michael worked out smarter, Kobe worked out harder. So meaning that is, when the coaches, myself, anybody told Michael enough, he would listen. He was like, enough, I get it. And he didn't need to know the explanation of everything. He just wanted to see the results. He's like, listen, whatever you're doing, if I could see the results, that's the only example I need. I don't need to know what it does, how it's working, all that stuff. I just need to be able to see and feel the results. With Kobe, he needed to know every single detail. Why were we doing this many reps? What was this exercise for? Why am I eating this at this particular time? And with him, the hardest thing was to get him to stop. Kobe would always continuing to work out, doing something or so forth. And when I came aboard with him in 2007, my job was to get him to do less, which was extremely difficult, because nobody in those days was saying no to Kobe Bryant. Michael would know, hey, I've had enough. You very rarely did you see, Michael had his routine. If you go back in the days, nowadays a lot of players come out early for warm-ups and shoot around and all that. Very rarely did you ever see Michael do that. That wasn't his thing. And Kobe was at the arena, 3 hours before before the game started in a full blown sweat. So again, one worked out harder, the other worked out smarter. Both got championship results. Both had the same mindset, and it was all about, hey, listen, they wanted to be different. They wanted to be different, but they knew different was going to scare people, and they didn't care. They wanted to scare the competition so bad, and they knew what to do.
And then comparatively, where does Barkley fit in the mix there?
Charles was one of the, out of all the athletes I've ever worked with, and I've said this, Charles was the most explosive athlete I've ever worked with.
Oh, wow.
I mean, for somebody his size to be able to do the things that he did, Charles, you had to constantly push. Charles, you had to motivate. Charles wasn't always focused. So there were different levels there, and Charles really enjoyed the public and the nightlife and the different. Let's say he indulged more than I wanted him to indulge.
And what was that? His classic quote is, "I don't lift weights because they're heavy, and I don't run because I get tired." Well, did he say that to you?
Yeah. You know, that's unbelievable. That's him. It's so true.
That's great.
Yeah. No, I gotta think though. Like, what are the negatives of these dark sides these guys can go to be different?
Oh, listen. They know what the negative is before they go there. That's the thing. They know the consequences of, hey, if I'm going to live this lifestyle and this is the way I'm going, this is the way it's going to be. This is what I can gain. This is what I'm going to lose. So, I mean, listen, they have no balance. They have no balance. Everybody looks for the balance in their lives, and they understand that, hey, listen, if I want to continue to win, if I want to win at the highest level, I cannot have balance in my life. And that's one of the biggest chapters that we talk about in this book. It's just like everybody wants to tell you need more balance. You need to have more balance. You don't find balance. You create it, and it's different for each individual. Michael's balance was different than Charles's balance. Charles's balance was different than Kobe's balance. Kobe's was different than Wade's. It's just like, but they knew what they wanted to do, and winning was on the top for most of the time. It was always on the top for Michael. It was always on the top for Kobe, and they knew in order to live that life, that some of the essential things that people say you need in your life were not going to be on top. They just weren't.
And then tell us more about Winning, the Unforgiving Race to Greatness. That's your book that's coming out. When's the exact release date?
May 18th.
Awesome. So May 18th, go check it out. What else can people expect in it?
I'm sorry?
What else is, can people expect in it? What else do you get into in the book?
Oh, well, listen, so everybody looks at winning as, the championship trophies, the championship celebrations, standing on the podium and all that other stuff. But the amount of time you actually spend celebrating or standing on that podium is so minute to the actual things that you need to do to get there, from a physical standpoint, from a mental standpoint. And this book takes you through that unforgiving race of what winners actually do to get to that stage. And this isn't just about sports. This is about business. This could be about teaching. It could be about raising your kids. It could be about anything, relationships. It's the different things and the different languages that you have to speak, that winners speak and do, and understand that everyone tells you that, work hard. Yeah, you do need to work hard, but also understand that winning doesn't care if you work hard, because every majority of the people are working hard. It's not fair. Well, what do you do when everyone is working hard? How do you separate yourself?
Yeah, I mean, just going through these last 25 minutes or so many fascinating things about things that you think you know and that we've kind of gone through. So this was great. Tim, yeah, that's this is really fun. Thanks for sitting down with us. And I believe by this airs, the book should be out. So definitely go check out the book. Where can people buy it?
You can go to our website, timgrover.com. We got plenty of links over there. It's available it'll be available in every bookstore. It'll be available obviously on Amazon. It'll be everywhere. If you can't find this book, you're not looking for it.
There we go. Well, Tim, thanks again. Next time you'll have to come in studio, and we'll do it in here.
I would love that. I appreciate it. You know what? Now that next time, of course, when I walk my little pet with my little Cody today, I'm going to stop by. I'm like, this is where these guys are at.
Yeah. Next time we'll go out back in the alley and do some drills or something. We'll work on our footwork.
Hey, we'll do that. We'll do that.
I love it. All right, go pick up the book, Winning. Once again, Tim, thanks again.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate your time. Take care.